I've had a chance to kind of look over everything, come up with some ideas. So it's really going to create this really interactive component. So we're going to be tying in all these different elements. We're going to work together to create a really cohesive design.
Ready? I think you do. Kids are gonna hit it a little easier though. Oh, look at it, knocked my mic down. So here we are at Malibu Creek State Park. Check this out. So this area of the creek bed is at a lower elevation. If we went up into the mountains, the look would be completely different. So we'd have steeper elevations, you'd have lots of boulders and exposed rock and things like that. As you get down lower, the water starts to kind of spread itself out a little bit. It's at a lower elevation, the velocity starts to change. But either way, you're always going down and you're gonna hit bedrock. So you're gonna hit a rock and gravel substrate. You're gonna hit something that is immovable. And that's exactly what we wanna look at when we're designing this feature. Because we have a steep elevation, we're gonna have bigger boulders instead of little stuff like this. So in the shallow areas, it will have the same river rock. But those upper reaches are gonna have giant boulders because that's exactly what you would see in a steep elevation. The other thing that I think is unique from a design standpoint, when you have a very steep incline, the water really doesn't twist and turn too much. It goes straight down, and that's because it wants to take the path of least resistance. As the slope starts to gentle out, that's when you start to get those big meanders and things like that. So we want to take all these different design ideas and philosophies that are found literally in nature. This is biomimicry concepts. When we could start to deconstruct these things, see how they work in nature, then we could start to rebuild them on our projects. So whenever I'm out and about exploring nature, I always go to the riverbeds. These are those riparian habitats. Look at this, we got a couple ducks are hanging out in here. I saw some fish kind of skirting away very quickly. This is where life happens, especially in these arid environments. You got water striders, you got insects, you got all types of things moving around in here. So again, this is a very, very dry climate, but when you go down to this area where the water meets the land, this is where all the life is gonna happen. We have all types of ducks and waterfowl are gonna come in. We're gonna have different types of aquatic insects that are gonna be living in and around all this stuff, and it just begs us to explore it. I mean, just check this out. Just start flipping stuff over. I don't want to do this too much because it does disrupt the natural ecology, because these little zones underneath rocks are actually very fragile environments. These actually create low pressure areas inside, and they gets the animals away from the actual flowing water and allows them actually to make a home inside of there. But along these perimeters, we can find all types of aquatic insects, and then once we start going up into the shallower areas, right above the waterline, that's where you could find some frogs, you can find newts, and you could find salamanders and things like that. There's going to be snakes and things that are going to be found along these shorelines, but this is where all that life happens. And I believe, again, this is just a philosophical thing, that a lot of this stuff is actually hardwired inside of us. And what I mean by that is, you go back thousands of years ago, you know, when humans were hunters and gatherers, they would follow water systems, they would follow riverbeds, they would follow the creek beds, and that's because you had food, you had shelter, and you actually have water to drink as well. So it gave you all the necessary components for life. And what I mean by hardwired inside of us, because we had a successful upbringing, because our ancestors were successful, this is what is drawing us back into nature. And that's what I love about what we do from a design standpoint. We get to design and build these features in people's backyards all over the world to recreate this very unique habitats. Here's a couple hikers that have come down to actually cool themselves off in the water. They're up in the mountains a little bit, so they're literally just reaching down and rinsing off their face and their heads with this cool water. And it's because water is life. This is the most powerful component on planet Earth. We need it more than any other compound, so if we can celebrate it, if we could work with it, if we could recreate it and restructure it in our backyard environments, there is nothing greater. What's up everybody, Ed the Pond Professor here. I am coming to you from Southern California. This is the home of Laura Cleary. We are working with all the artists of the year on a really cool project. Check this out. So here is the new home that is being renovated. So this is all outdoor living spaces over in here. What I love about this is everything is looking across to the slope on the other side, but the slope could use a little bit of help. They just brought in some of these little bridges crossing over. So what we want to do is create a really unique destination place over here on this back section. So what I love about this is the entire back of the home is looking directly out on that property. So all the views, all the eyes are going over here. They also have this little seating area. So there are staircases going down, patios, terraces, fire pits, everything is facing in this direction. They also have this beautiful little walkway that cuts down and it crosses over this little drainage area. They have a bridge over here. We're actually bringing in another bridge literally in the next hour or so. We're going to place another bridge over here, so it kind of continues this loop. There is a little staircase tucked over in here. So that staircase leads up to a small gate on the back side of the property, which takes them down this little dead-end street to a series of trails and things like that to some beautiful natural areas. So what we want to do is create this as a destination place. It's also going to fill this entire space with sound because of the proximity of that slope, because of the angle of it. It's just going to project all that sound right towards the living area, which is going to make all the difference in the world. So it's really going to fill this entire space with that beautiful sound. So what I want to do is I want to tuck that waterfall right up next to the staircase, cascading its way down and then terminating in a small pooling area down below. One of the big challenges that I'm looking at right now is going to be access. So there is a road on the other side of this property. So I want to take a walk over there to see what it's going to be like to bring in some heavy equipment. Ready? All right, so this is going to be fun, but check that out. There's the home, living space. Everything is just kind of looking across this little ravine. We have these beautiful mature trees over here, which we obviously are not going to touch anything with those. So this barren spot right here is going to be the focus. So I'm thinking from where I'm standing, we're looking at a 10-foot high waterfall or so. So we're going to change all of this. This wall has to come out, change the stairs, make this a lot more interactive. I would also love to see everything cascade down into a small stream area in here, and then making it look like it's connected with this. Bring in some bigger boulders to make this look like it connects into this existing drainage system. Okay, so there's the road. It actually is pretty close. What we may do, and I'm gonna have to see if this is possible, I might take a section of fence out. This doesn't look too bad. I think pull out some of these and come through this section. So this is a dead-end road, which is nice. It'll be perfect for dropping off trucks, equipment, people, and everything coming in through this little back section. So what I'd also do, dig a section of this mound out over in here, flatten some of this, start water back in here and work its way across. Want to redo that staircase with some stone slabs, so it looks like it's all part of one integral system.
I want to show you some of my ideas. Again, here was our design team. Again, it was fabulous meeting both of you. Really enjoyed the conversations, as well as kind of getting to know exactly what you're looking for on your property. And I think that's an important piece, because whenever we're doing a design, we want to understand the family, and we want to understand how you're going to utilize the property and some of these key elements to make sure that you're getting everything and more that you're actually looking for. So here's that location that we're going to be working with. We have that existing patio that was installed. Other than that, I think I'm going to rip out most of everything that you see there. Obviously, big trees and that type of stuff, they're going to stay. So, you know, some of these shrubs are down over in here. Might keep that one, not 100% sure. Stairs I want to reconfigure. That one over in the middle, this one's actually destroyed, so we'll pull that out. I want to reconfigure steps and everything to actually kind of come out and cross over that way to go out the exit point. So you can see you have that existing dry creek bed down here at the bottom. We have the bridges and all that. That's all gonna stay. Other than that though, I want to kind of re-envision all of that. I want to utilize that main slope itself, but then I want to start coming in here and I want to start carving in and dropping in big boulders and things like that to make this look like kind of a mountain retreat. I want to have lots of large outcroppings and boulders. I also want to have strategic planting areas, but then right down the middle of all of that, I want to carve in that waterfall system. So I think a couple of things that we're really looking at here, if we blow it up a little bit, we have a few main viewing areas that we're looking for. Obviously, we have the patio itself. You're going to be sitting there, relaxing with the kids, having a glass of wine, whatever it happens to be, and you're going to be filled around you with that sound of falling water. So it's going to be a really unique destination place. But you don't spend most of your time over on that patio. The majority of your time is going to be spent closer to the home or perhaps even inside of the house. So if that's the case, we want to make sure that you see the waterfall as well as hear it. So it's going to be both of those things actually working together, and I think that's the really important part. Another thing that I did here, my original design was just to have one big waterfall coming down, but that works in a lot of situations. But because of the layout of your property, you have a couple different viewing areas. So what I did was I split the waterfall. So this one here is going to be visible from a completely different direction. Well, this one is going to be visible more from that direction. So they're going to be kind of coming down in two different angles. And I think that's the key piece that I'm thinking about with this. I have put together a few actual project pictures. So when you look at something like this, we back up a little bit. For a landscape designer, for architects and things like that, this is kind of the world that they live in. But most people can't understand that. So I did want to put in some actual pictures of similar style projects to give you a better understanding and idea of what it's actually going to look like as we kind of go through this transformation process. So here's a very similar slope. What I want you to focus on is really this big slope over here that we have to work with. This is approximately a 10-foot elevation change from the top all the way down to the bottom. What we did was we started out with this blank slate. We came in exactly what I'm talking about doing at your place. I want to carve in a series of large rocks. I want to make it look like that water has literally eroded its way down through these giant boulders, exposing the bedrock, and then you have this beautiful sight and sound of this falling water. And this is what we came up with. This is actually right after it was built. What it looks like now, completely different, because all these different plantings and things like that are a lot more fuller now. So this is a project out in Atlanta, Georgia. What I love about it is that kind of twisting, turning motion to it, utilizing that hillside as much as possible, but also creating, again, these are really important pieces. These are strategic little planting beds. I love working with stone, but I also want to hide it quite a bit. I want to come in with the right plant material to help soften up all that stone to make it look more naturalistic. And when it looks more natural, it has a better feel, and it's just going to be better for you and your family. The other thing that I want to point out here is some of the scale of all these different rocks. Obviously, there's smaller rocks and things like that tucked in between, but I want it to be dominated by large boulders. And that's because you have your kids. So I want them to be able to climb up and down safely, up and down the perimeter of this waterfall, because what child doesn't want to climb all over a waterfall? It's going to be a hot summer day. You want to take your shoes off. You're going to be walking in and out of the water. It creates a really, really unique perspective to children's eyes. So I think this is going to be a really, really neat addition to your property. This project I put in, this is Q Center right over here. What I like about this is it's going to create different sounds. We could play around with different waterfalls. And I know we were talking about this a little bit with that sound of cascading music. So we could have different thicknesses of water. We have different widths. Water's crashing over rock, or water falling into pebbles, or water falling into a deeper pocket of water. It's all going to create different tones. So we'll have trebles, we'll have basses, and we can mix all these different things together to really create an incredible kind of that music of falling water. And I just love it. Another project in the Chicagoland area, this is the Dressander project. You're going to be able to see this transformation right here because we just have basically turf grass. Just incredible. You know, I love designing and building with water features. It's something that is extremely unique. You know, we're taking in multiple disciplines together to create these unique designs, but once we do it properly, I mean, you're not even going to recognize the property once we're done. One of my favorites, again, this was one we just recently completed. This was done last year. This is Keel O'Neill's place down in Atlanta, Georgia. What I want to focus on this project with is different types of rock. So this is the type of rock that would be able to find more in California. It also has some of these stacked slate features. It's got these little bubbling features up here on the very, very top. It'll be tying in all these different elements, large boulders, bridges, seating areas, rock outcroppings, strategic plantings. All these different things are going to work together to create a really cohesive design. And I'm telling you what, it is going to be a spectacular feature. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great day.